You're sitting there, replaying every conversation in your head. Nothing dramatic happened. No big fight, no betrayal, and yet something changed. She looks at you differently now. Her voice is colder. Her patience is gone. The respect you once felt, it vanished. Let me explain why. Because when a woman suddenly stops respecting you, it's not random, it's not bad luck, and it's not because she changed overnight. This isn't emotion, this is psychology. At first, you tell yourself it's stress, work, life, mood swings. You try harder, you explain more, you compromise again. But every time you lean in, she leans back. Every time you apologize, she loses a little more respect. That's the part that hurts the most. You're doing what you think is right, and it's making things worse. Here's the truth. Respect doesn't disappear suddenly. It erodes quietly, and it always starts with a shift in power. Early on, she respected your boundaries, your time, your decisions, your emotional stability. You weren't chasing, you weren't explaining yourself, you weren't afraid of losing her. And that energy, calm, grounded, self-directed, that's what created attraction and respect. But then something changed. Maybe you started prioritizing her over your purpose. Maybe you stopped saying no. Maybe you began tolerating behavior you once wouldn't. Small things, barely noticeable. You responded faster. You over-explained. You adjusted your standards to keep the peace. And slowly, unconsciously, you taught her something dangerous, that your boundaries were flexible, that your time was negotiable, that your self-respect depended on her approval. That's not love. That's control. Let me explain why this matters. Respect is rooted in perceived strength, not physical strength, psychological strength. The ability to stand firm without anger, to walk away without begging, to remain composed when emotions rise. When she senses that you fear losing her more than you value yourself, the dynamic flips. And once that happens, attraction doesn't fade first, respect does. Here's where most men get it wrong. They think respect is earned by giving more reassurance, more effort, more emotional availability. But respect isn't built by self-investment. It's built by self-leadership, by having a life that doesn't collapse when someone pulls away, by maintaining direction even when emotions fluctuate. When you abandon that, she doesn't see devotion, she sees instability. Let's look at a real-world example. At the beginning, you had your own rhythm: gym, work, goals, friends, silence. She fit into your life. She didn't become it. But over time, you adjusted everything around her. Canceled plans, delayed goals, ignored small red flags to avoid conflict. And she noticed, not consciously, not maliciously, but psychologically. Her texts got shorter, her tone sharper. She tested you more, subtle disrespect, disguised as jokes or honesty. And instead of addressing it calmly, you reacted emotionally. You explained yourself. You defended your intentions. You tried to win back the version of her that respected you. That's when the respect truly died. Because the moment you start negotiating your dignity, you signal weakness. Here's the truth most people won't tell you. A woman doesn't stop respecting you because you're kind. She stops respecting you because you stopped respecting yourself. This isn't about dominance, it's about internal alignment. When your words, actions, and boundaries no longer match, people feel it, and women especially respond to emotional consistency, not perfection, consistency. So what's the transformation? It doesn't start with confronting her, it doesn't start with ultimatums, and it definitely doesn't start with explaining your pain. It starts with withdrawing misplaced energy. You stop chasing clarity, you stop proving value, you stop reacting to disrespect emotionally. Instead, you return to structure, your goals, your discipline, your standards. You speak less, but with intention. You tolerate less without anger. You walk away mentally before you ever walk away physically. And something interesting happens. The dynamic recalibrates. Sometimes she feels it and adjusts. Sometimes she doesn't, and that tells you everything you need to know. Because respect can't be negotiated. It can only be maintained or lost. Here's the final truth. If she suddenly stopped respecting you, don't panic, don't beg, don't explain. Look inward. Where did you abandon your frame? Where did you tolerate what you shouldn't? Where did you trade self-respect for emotional security? Fix that, and everything else becomes clear. Not because she changes, but because you do.